This is Megan Elizabeth Morris checking in for this 5-minute Simultistream broadcast on our Intuitive Public TV. There is a timer running, no time like the present to build necessary skills. I want to check in from our worldwide network groups on a particular subject, and that is time banking, something we talked about a lot more many years ago, and we haven't really talked about as much since until very recently. There are two major items of conversation in regards to time banking, with the methodology having been developed in the intuitive network that we are developing, continuing forward, ongoing. And I had the distinct pleasure of meeting Tony Budak of the Time Bank Mahoning Watershed, which is not far from where I am currently located. That conversation has caused many more additional conversations to emerge, specifically about time banking, where one of the reasons that we haven't talked so much about it over this past decade or so is because we needed these two specific items to be addressed, and we weren't sure how to talk about them, and we weren't sure how to address them. So I'm going to broach them right now in this 5-minute broadcast where I am watching the timer, which is right up here. And I'm going to keep this broadcast under 5 minutes, and we're going to find out how I do with it. Thank you for rooting for me. The two items that we have to keep very present in our consideration when we're talking about time banking and the great value of time banking, where a community comes together and logs the things we do for one another, the things we give to one another. How are we helping one another? How are we dedicating our time and energy to making the world around us better, to making one another's lives better, to building more beautifying collaborative relationships with one another, to implementing solutions that allow us to have a much happier, healthier experience in the world, living and working with one another. Time banking involves putting logged items on, what we're doing. Here's what we're doing. Here's what we're offering. And the two items that we have to be really aware of in the intuitive network are: how do we get that data into the system? Because there are many, many people who are not able to enter that data themselves. We need a bridge of functions that helps that data be input for all of these people who are doing amazing work for their communities that is not seen, that is invisible to everybody who's not directly participating. We need some way of showing what's happening there. And the second item is that we need to be prioritizing building relationships with one another so that we know what it means when someone offered something, when someone spent an hour of their time doing a particular thing that might have been very, very difficult for them. Do we know enough about the life of that person to understand the gift that they brought to the community when they chose to do that? The resource that they're offering to the community, do we know what that means to them? So how do we get the data into the system when that's a very difficult thing for many people to do? And how do we really gather ourselves together to know one another, to learn from one another, to know one another's stories, so that we know what those gifts are? This is how we honor what we give to one another. And I'm looking forward to a lot more of these conversations. I really appreciate you tuning in with me for this 5-minute broadcast. I still have 32 seconds left. Let's breathe together for a moment. This is really important stuff. We want to be supporting our bodies so that we can have a lot more of these conversations. I really appreciate you tuning in. I hope you have an absolutely wonderful day.